cut some coves on the table saw while making a picture frame, and I slightly improved the process while I was doing that, so I thought I'd make a video on that. Circular saw blades are really meant to cut like this, just forward to cut a slot, but when cutting a cove, you pass the wood across it at an angle, so the teeth kind of sweep out like this and they cut this channel. But you have to do it in very shallow steps because only the tops of the teeth cut. And the other problem is that the shape of the teeth is not ideal. The teeth on a circular saw blade are designed to cut a clean channel on the edges. And so the teeth have points that point either this way or point in the opposite direction to make sure they cut a nice clean edge. And the middle of the cut is really not that important. So you have alternating teeth that cut either this profile or this other profile, and that leaves a cut that is usually not quite as deep in the middle, which is just fine if you're cutting through. But if you're trying to cut a cove and the wood is passing along like that, you really only have the points on this side cutting this half and the points on the other side cutting the other half. So effectively the shape of the cutter becomes a point like this, which is the corner of the tooth, and then the next tooth cuts like so and so on, and that leaves basically a very jagged edge on the wood. So I realized rather than having teeth that go like this and like this, if I had teeth that just kind of went like this, that would be much better because we wouldn't have this sharp point doing all the cutting. So I ended up taking a saw blade and I took every tooth that was like this and ground the corner off it like so. So I used my table saw blade sharpening jig to grind away the alternating points just by holding against the blade like that. I wasn't sure if this whole experiment would work, so I actually used a blade that was kind of dull to begin with and had a missing tooth because I figured nothing to lose with this one. So I just went one step further and actually rounded the tops of the teeth, and that should work even better. If you don't have a fancy table saw blade sharpening gadget, you can just use a diamond disc on a Dremel tool, and that works surprisingly well. So here's my samples, and at a glance they didn't look that much different, but let's put the light at a low angle and zoom in a bit. So this is the conventional method of cutting the coves, and you can see, especially along here, you can see there's all these little ridges in there from the blade. This is with the improved process. This is just cutting the corners off the blade, and you can see this one is a fair bit smoother. And with the rounded teeth is this one, and it's not that much better. I think if I had a more precise way of cutting these things, it might work better. The other problem might be just cutting at an angle like that might chip out the wood a bit more. I just repeated that same test with some nice maple, which doesn't chip out as easily. So this is with the rounded teeth, and this is with a conventional blade. Quite a difference. But rounding the teeth actually didn't help that much, and I think it's because I did everything freehand and I added more inconsistencies doing all that freehand work of rounding it versus just grinding off the points. The other improvement is to tilt the blade into the cut a little bit because the tops of the teeth cut much better. So as the wood passes across like that, we're cutting more with the tops, and if we have a wider blade, and in this case I just stack two blades on top of each other, we get more cut area so we can cut more at once. And I think an even bigger improvement would be if we have one blade which cuts like that, and we take another blade next to it, and then we ground one into kind of a half round like this and the other one into a half round like that, so we'd have a cutter that makes this kind of profile. I think that would work really smooth, but I don't actually have that many coves to cut, so I'm not going to try that.